Hello folks, we come back with a video on exercise 14.4. This is a part 1. Again we are learning a new concept in this part, as we have been doing in all the earlier parts. So here now the first question says that they will give you a question in if then form. You should express this question in different other forms. Okay, so there are n number of forms in which we can express. So we will learn some tailor-made format into which we will fit our thing and we will do it. Now say this is basically an expression and it's English. One same thing can be expressed in so many ways. It's very easy for beginners to get confused. So we have done a lot of scanning and we filtered some ways out. So we will see that we'll stick to that way and we'll see that we'll not confuse ourselves with it, right? So I'll just give you a nutshell idea of it. Like if P then Q, suppose say they give you a statement like that, that's what we have done here. If then, yeah, if they give you a form like that, then we are going to have the first form where we say that P implies Q. We can have P only if Q. Then we can have P is sufficient for Q. Yeah. Then when P occurs or whatever, it is necessary that Q occurs. Yeah, so P is, when P occurs, it is necessary that Q occurs. Then negative Q implies negative P, right? So that these are the forms in which we are going to have our expressions done. So let's get started right away. Yeah. Okay, so let's write our 5 forms. We have learned the nutshell ideas, and so like if you want for your reference, I'll write if then. We are going to replace if P then Q, we are going to replace by P implies Q, P only if Q. Then we are going to replace by P sufficient for Q. Then when P occurs, it is necessary that Q occurs. So when, that is the word. Then negative Q implies negative P, right? So whenever we have a doubt, we just cross check. So if then, the first 2-3 statements are very easy. A real number is odd. If a real number is odd, then its square is also odd. So a real number is odd implies, that's our first word, implies that its square is also odd. We didn't do much work, only if then we have replaced by implies. Same way is only if. That implies will be replaced by only if. So a real number is odd only if its square is also odd. Then sufficient. So a real number being odd is sufficient for its square to be odd. Then we use the word when for necessary. When a real number is odd, it is necessary that its square is also odd, right? Then last is, as I said, negative. So fag and negative implies the, so its square is also odd. So a square of a real number, if the square of the real number, if the square of a real number is not odd, then the real number is not odd, right? a negative q implies negative p, that way. So that is a contrapositive. We call this as contrapositive. So that's our 5 parts in which we do it. You will really see materials where they mess it up with this, they go beating around the bush, and see these remaining things are quite okay. Contrapositive is very easy, only if it's very easy, implies is very easy, only sufficient and necessary. You see people going around that with a lot of mess, because there are certain words, which, like for example, for. If you use the word for, then sufficient reverses its order. The backside part will come first and the first side part will go back. So like that, and there are many words. Even when is actually necessary, supposed to be in opposite order, but when we use when, it goes in the same order. So like that, you have to have those things in mind, that when I'm using when, it's the same order, otherwise it's opposite order. And when you go to read, every material has nothing is specific. So it is only after a lot of scanning that we have come across this. So this is the way of getting across with these reasoning things. Next, we are going to the next question, again very interesting, where they give us statements and they ask us to write the contrapositivity and the converse. Converse is very easy for us, because we have learned n number of theorems where if this is happening, then that is happening. Then the converse is the fag end will come first and the first end will go behind. So converse is very easy. You just have to put the first part last and the last part first. And contrapositive also is easy actually, because the last part with the negative comes first, then the first part with the negative goes last. So actually it's not a big affair. Only thing, statements have to be given in proper if-then form. If it is given in if-then form, it's easy to do it. But our problem is sometimes the statements are not given in if-then form, they are given in some haphazard form, and then you have to put it into proper form and then get it. So that is where the challenge is. So we are going to take up that part of it, and let us see now how to go about doing it. Yeah. So we start with the first problem. If x is a prime number, then I don't know how do we'll do all contrapositive first, then we'll do all converse, so that we have that flow, right? So if x is a prime number, then x is odd. This is a good question because it's in if-then form. If x is a prime number, then x is odd. We have to just write negatives, right? Always remember, contrapositivity means if q negative will imply negative p, and here q implies p. Just reverse the order. That's it. So what we are going to write? If x is not odd, right, then x is not a prime number. That's it, both negative and opposite order. Then if two lines are parallel, then they do not intersect in the same plane. So if two lines if two lines intersect, we have to write the opposite. If two lines intersect in the same plane, if two lines intersect in the same plane, then the two lines are not parallel. That's it, negative of both, right? Something is cold implies that it has a low temperature. So the negative of this, something has a low temperature, something doesn't have a low temperature, implies it is not cold, right? That's the negation of both the parts. You cannot comprehend geometry if you do not know how to reason. Now this is just they have not put it in if-then form. They have put the first part last and last part first and all that. Actually it's like this: if you do not know how to reason, then you cannot comprehend geometry. Actually that's how it is, okay, but they've put it the other way around. So we'll keep that in mind and we will do our contrapositivity. Then you cannot comprehend geometry. That's a fag end, so it will come first. So you can comprehend geometry, you can comprehend geometry, yeah, you can comprehend geometry. And what's the other part? If you do not know how to reason, You can comprehend geometry if you know how to reason. Okay, so let's make ourselves clear. Okay, we are not going to see this part. For our understanding, we are seeing this part, right? So, and in this part, you cannot. Okay, so we are replacing. You can comprehend geometry if. Now see, if you do not know how to reason, if you know how to reason, right? So we are only taking this part and we are reversing all negatives, negative of it. Now, x is an even number implies that x is divisible by 4. So x is not divisible by 4 implies x is not an even number, right? So we have made the negatives of both. So that deals with the contrapositivity. Now we are going to the converse. Converse is here, there, right? So if x is a prime number, then x is odd. Just the opposite. If x is odd, then x is a prime number, isn't it? If x is odd, then x is a prime number. Next, if two lines are parallel, then they do not intersect in the same plane. So, if two lines do not intersect in the same plane, if two lines do not intersect in the same plane, then where is it? I have lost sight. If two lines do not intersect in the same plane, then the two lines are parallel. Then the two lines are parallel. Right. Something is cold implies that it has a low temperature. So this part first. Something has a low temperature. Something has a low temperature implies it is cold, right? Then again we'll go to this part. This is more better. If you do not know how to reason, then you cannot comprehend geometry. You cannot comprehend geometry. You cannot. No, sorry. If you cannot comprehend geometry, then you do not know how to reason. You do not know how to reason. Then x is an even number implies x is divisible by 4. X is divisible by 4 implies x is an even number, right? So that's our big affair over here with things. See, if it's given in proper if then and implies form, things are very easy for us to do, but sometimes the form is different. You have to make yourself understand as to which is the correct form, put it in the correct form and then get the answer. So that's about it. And other hurdle is about necessary and sufficient. Necessary and sufficient, you have to get yourself clear as to, yes, it's going to be this form, and wherever I'm going to use this form, no matter what comes where, right? So once you're done about that, then your work becomes little easy. That's about this. We have still more questions that we'll be taking in the next part. Thank you.